They moved through the darkened halls of the Imperial Station, their small feet silent against the cold metal floor, their eyes wide with fear. Their hands grasping one another tightly, alarms wailed in the distance. They were just children, they had been told to stay hidden. But the Empire did not care. The Empire saw them as vermin, as pests to be exterminated. Without hesitation, without remorse, the soldiers had found them huddled in the supply room, their faces streaked with dust and tears, their breath held tight in their lungs. They had tried to beg, but the soldiers only raised their weapons. They had tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Far away on the edge of space, beyond the sight of Imperial radars, beyond the reach of their war machines, a ship moved through the void. It was old, it was scarred, it carried the weight of countless battles. It carried a woman, a mother. Her name was whispered in terror. Her name was spoken in hushed tones across the galaxy. She was the Baba Yaga, the nightmare that lurked in the dark, the force that avenged the forgotten. She had been far from her children when the Empire had come, but distance did not matter to her. The moment the last of her children screamed, she had heard, she had felt, she had known, and she had begun her journey back. The soldiers laughed as they left the room, the bodies of the children limp and lifeless behind them. Their work was done. The Empire would be pleased. Another infestation wiped out, another threat eliminated. They thought nothing more of it. They did not know what they had done. They did not know the name of the one they had wronged. They did not know what would come for them. The station shuddered as the first explosion tore through its outer hull. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, orders were screamed into comms. But it was too late. She had arrived, her ship a shadow against the stars, her weapons carving through metal and flesh with equal precision. She did not land, she did not dock, she did not need to. She moved through the void as though it were solid ground, her body wrapped in black armor, her face hidden behind a mask that bore no expression, that bore no mercy. She entered through the breach, stepping into the station like a specter, like a ghost from an old tale of vengeance. Her eyes burned with something deeper than fire, deeper than rage. She was not here for war, she was not here for justice, she was here for blood. The first soldier saw her, and did not even have time to scream. His body was torn apart by something unseen, his limbs separated, his voice choked by the void. The others turned, their weapons raised, their shouts lost beneath the wail of the alarms they fired. But she was already moving, already among them. Their bullets, their energy blasts, their desperate attempts to stop her meant nothing. She was upon them, her blades cutting through their armor, her hands breaking bone, her presence suffocating the very air around them. They had killed her children, they had made their choice, and now they would face the consequence. Room by room, hall by hall, she moved, without hesitation, without slowing, without stopping. She did not ask for names, she did not ask for ranks, she did not care. They had been there when her children had died. They had done nothing, they were guilty, all of them. The Empire would learn, the Empire would remember this day. The Empire would know that there were things in this galaxy that should not be provoked. A general stood in the command center, watching the security feeds, his hands trembling, his voice a whisper as he asked who she was. But there was no answer, no report, no explanation, only the growing pile of bodies, only the crimson trail spreading through his station. His mind raced, his thoughts wild. He had heard stories, he had heard myths, but they had been just that, stories, myths, legends meant to scare soldiers into obedience, meant to keep them awake at night. He had not believed them, he had never believed them. The doors of the command center hissed open, the silence that followed was absolute. She stepped inside, her armor gleaming with the blood of the fallen, her shadow stretching long across the floor, her mask unreadable, her eyes unblinking. The general reached for his weapon, his fingers shaking, his breath coming in short, desperate gasps. He tried to speak, tried to plead, but there were no words. She would listen to no bargains, she would accept no mercy. She would give, there was only what was owed, there was only the debt that had to be paid. She moved once, and the room was empty but for the bodies. The Empire would learn, but it would not be enough, because nothing could be enough, nothing could return what had been lost. Nothing could fill the emptiness that now lived where her children had once been. She did not cry, she did not grieve, she only moved forward, stepping over the dead, walking through the burning corridors, heading toward the docking bay where more soldiers gathered, where more voices screamed, where more lives would be ended. The Empire would send more, they always did. They would call her a monster, they would call her a terror, they would speak of her in fear. But none of them would truly understand, because they had never held a child in their arms and watched them smile. They had never heard laughter. Turned to silence, they had never known what it was to lose everything and have nothing left but vengeance. She stepped onto her ship, her work unfinished, her mission unending. She turned her gaze to the stars, to the thousands of worlds under imperial rule, to the countless others who had suffered as she had. She knew this was only the beginning. She would never stop, not until the Empire was nothing but ash, not until the last of their war machines had fallen, not until their banners had burned, not until every mother could hold her child without fear. The galaxy had whispered her name before, now it would scream it.